Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Telling Tales. You know what? Oftentimes when I come to these streams, folks, I am tired after work and the other perils of the day. And every single time on Cincinnati Chronicles, as soon as we start streaming and that intro sequence that Steve very wonderfully put together starts playing, it really gets me in the mood. How good is it? Very good is the answer. It's Cincinnati Chronicles tonight, our World of Darkness anthology series. We are on our penultimate arc of Wraith the Oblivion, with our players playing a group of the restless, the dead yet not gone, struggling to maintain their lives in the Shadowlands, the underworld, where some individuals pass on to after they leave the mortal realm. Hi. Before I start bringing on the players and we start doing recaps of what happened last week, it's the usual promo time. If you check down below, you'll find a number of links. There's links to our YouTube, to our Twitch. You're watching on one, please do check out the other. Links to our Discord, Patreon, social media. Those will do what you might expect. Engage with them or not, according to your own personal preferences. Currently, we run 3 weekly series here on Twitch. Mondays is Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay that Sam is running, although it's off next week. I don't know if that's been kind of publicly mentioned, but it is taking a week off. Wednesdays is Into the Odd with myself, which is our interim series between arcs of our usual kind of Simbaroom flagship, and Thursdays is Cincinnati Chronicles, which is this. That's what you're here for. We also run monthly one-shots. We've covered a lot of different systems in those, the most recent of which was last weekend, where we played Morkborg and had a lot of fun doing it. That'll start appearing on YouTube very shortly. And the next one, which is currently scheduled for only a week and a half's time away, I believe. I'm looking down at the cams to see if the person who's running it is nodding or not. But 2nd of July, Saturday the 2nd of July is the currently penciled in date for it. Absurdia, it is a early access indie RPG powered by the Apocalypse, and it's a weird, surreal thing which is properly in the wheelhouse of the individual who is running it, who is Pierre, who anyone unfamiliar will meet him very shortly. There we go. Check that out. So let's start bringing on our players and start talking about the events of last week. And first, we are going to bring on John. John is playing Abby, former kind of bitter and resentful children's author, wannabe noir fiction author. But none of that matters anymore because you're dead.
I mean, it kind of matters to Abby.
It matters to Abby, for sure. So, John, we picked up last week with you all having been kind of like lured into the Cincinnati Public Library to where all the fetters, the physical manifestations of a wraith's connection to the Skinlands were gathered. And I believe we ended the first session with they all just burst into flames. Which isn't good. Isn't good at all. So how did things proceed last week, please?
So the flyer started spreading, slowly taking more and more fetters of the assembled restless with them. Everyone whose fetter didn't just get up and run away, like mine, took any actions they could to try and safeguard it or protect it. But that was pretty much just the player characters. A lot of the assorted other wraiths who were there weren't so lucky, and their fetters burnt, and they screamed horribly, and then one by one were like sucked into their own personal harrowing and presumably terrible things happening to them.
Yeah, harrowing being kind of what happens to a wraith under various horrible circumstances, which essentially kind of pulls them into their own hell deep in the center of the labyrinth that underpins the entire underworld. Not maybe destroyed forever, but certainly they're of no concern right now until if or when they manage to escape those harrowings. And that popped up all over with huge cracking noises. And I'm sure nothing further bad could happen than that in the library, and such a cataclysm wouldn't snowball into something terrible. Speaking of something terrible, here's Pierre. Pierre plays Ronan Kayat, former mob tailor and mediator, now filled with kind of not regret so much as concern for the well-being of his adopted son, and also a little bit of mystery on exactly how you died. I'm sure it wasn't anything bad. What was you being connected to the mob and all? But Ronan, what happened next?
So, with everything ablaze, suddenly we noticed that time seemed to be slowing down or doing something very strange. And out of that, like at the height of that kind of weirdness, kind of emerging in a kind of bizarre blur out of time and space, came a green-robed, shadowy figure. Who summoned chains, I believe, which started sort of snaking onto various wraiths and dragging them bodily, or I suppose not really bodily, corporeally down into the depths of something bad.
It was more in terms of they seem to shoot out and go down into the ground and drag. I mean, specters are wraiths, a very specific kind of wraith, but specters, like twisted, tormented, monstrous wraiths up from underneath the library where they presumably live.
And this terrible individual seemed to be up to no good, I guess, is the summary of this individual who we may have seen before in previous series.
And I think there was also another weird, very quick, blurry figure that was glimpsed, which I'm sure is definitely not a close reference to one of our other arcs. Go watch those. Yeah, absolutely.
Dancing, perhaps.
maybe. Who can tell? Who can say? But before anything else could be picked up from this figure, they were gone. Vanishing out of the front of the library and out of the Shadowlands themselves. And in their wake, again, I'm sure nothing bad happened. So let's bring on our third player. It's Inga, who plays Tammy, former child pop prodigy tennis player, turns dead tennis player. Tammy, how did things go in the library after the vanishing of the figure in green?
Totally smooth sailing thereafter. Everyone's happily ever after. The Nihil opened. The small cracks all kind of it got worse. It got real bad. Huge, big, gaping Nihil open. The whole thing is just starting to crumble and collapse in on itself. It's starting to get bigger and bigger. It's got this weird gravitational pull trying to suck us all down into it. It's into the deep, dark depths of the Shadowlands, and it's the Oblivion that way lies. So yeah, not great. So we're all trying to get the hell out of there. I think Brian's hiding in a side office and eventually manages to make his way out upon the advice of again previously seen a Victorian boy through the walls and out to the front of the library. Abby's kind of heading out from the front, and Tammy's trying to grab Ronan to Argos out of the way. Again, no more bad things happen other than, Brian's shadow summoning specters out from this awful Nihil and swiping at Ronan and clipping him. And in any case, we managed to kind of like battle our way through various different routes, and there's some I can't remember the flies. What they're called? The flies.
Stygian wall flies.
Stygian wall flies. That's right. Go off scouting, and we also kind of get out through the wall and stuff. We all end up out of the library, but it's a bit of a
absolutely. That's of particular note. Maybe that towering monstrous spectre seemingly pulled out of the Nihil by Brian's shadow. Exciting stuff. But yeah, you all emerged from the library relatively unscathed, at least. And again, I'm sure once you're out of the library, what bad could possibly happen? Let's bring on our final player, Chris, who plays Brian, former kind of programming language innovator and grouchy old coot. There's definitely a theme running through a lot of Chris's characters. Chris, how did we finish up last week?
Well, everything was a little less terrible outside. Let's be 100% honest.
Oh yeah.
The library was surrounded by some weird kind of spectral fields that I was beginning to worry was our next great trouble. But we passed through it without too much issue at all. Looking back behind us, though, above the library now, gathering in the kind of sky of the Shadowlands, is this storm front shock wave that's very slowly expanding away from the library. And Brian has no idea what's going on, but this is a considerable Nile and a considerable maelstrom event, which is going to cause a lot of trouble. So we weren't too sure about what to do next, but we all agreed that being somewhere else was probably a great start. So we started making our way just down the road, and came across eventually a strange Batman-like figure on top of a building with a exceptionally dramatic scythe, and very clearly the kind of person who would write in all capital letters, who kind of glanced at us and gave us some prophetic advice to make our way to the sanctuary as quickly as possible, and that they were going to go and attempt to seal the breach, and then disappeared off in probably the most superheroic chain of events that has happened in the Cincinnati Chronicles so far.
Yeah,
so that's kind of where
absolutely.
we were left.
Yeah, I think everyone but Brian, I believe Chris botched a roll to kind of recognize what the figure might be, and thus just came across kind of weird memories that he didn't know he had before of perhaps being ushered into the Shadowlands by a figure like this. But the others recognized it as perhaps this individual is one of the legendary ferrymen, the sort of loose association of individuals who back in the more mythic days of the Shadowlands and the Kingdom of Iron were the kind of guard and associates of Charon, the sort of now kind of semi-mythical emperor of the Shadowlands. But who knows? Maybe it's just some dude in a robe with a scythe and a lantern. Who knows? There's a lot of them about. Well, there's a lot of dudes in robes about. So there we go. We're going to pick up at that point, I think. Why don't we? It's actually funny because normally we don't really, before the sessions, like we're too busy kind of like doing like the channel admin between us and stuff to really talk or plan or anything. But it was notable today that people were just like, what are we going to do? Which is an understandable reaction to Wraith the Oblivion, I think. And I'll simply throw that one back at you folks. What are you going to do? You were advised to strike out for the Citadel, which is the center of hierarchy power in the necropolis of Cincinnati. None of you would be welcome in the Citadel, and a couple of you would be actively under threat from being recognized while being in the Citadel. It is not that far away, although far is a relative term when there's a maelstrom gathering nearby. It is, all of you are aware of where it is. It is in the Cincinnati district of Columbia Tusculum, which is a wonderful name, which is to the southeast of the city. For long-time viewers of Cincinnati Chronicles, it is the oldest area of Cincinnati, and it is not very far away from some places we've been before, like the Observatory and the vampiric prince of Cincinnati's domain. Unsurprisingly, the oldest, most affluent area of Cincinnati itself. So you have some way to go, but it's not crossing the entire city. Have you got any plans other than it's just starting to head straight there?
So, based on my knowledge of the Citadel, do I know anything about the Citadel in general?
Yeah, everyone will have seen it. It's got kind of they're not towering walls, because the necropolis of Cincinnati has seen better days, even for a settlement of the dead. So, but it's definitely very defensible. You've probably none of you have ever been behind those walls because none of you are members of the hierarchy. So
are there
you've definitely seen them.
How many ways? Like, are there lots of ways in, as far as I'm aware, or is it like one massive gate?
You were aware of a number of gates and one like primary gate that people go in. So you could come at it from different ways. And obviously, you, Ronan, you've spent time with renegades, the kind of directly rebellious faction of Wraith against the hierarchy, and you have heard tell of all sorts of like smuggling and like little secret ways in and out of the Citadel. Perhaps you don't know any of them,
no,
but
perhaps
you get the impression that if people really want in the Citadel and they know the right people, they can go in the Citadel.
Okay. Yeah. Right. I think I might like. I guess I'll say. Well, I'm not welcome in the Citadel, but I don't want to be outside of those walls when the maelstrom hits. I've heard rumor that there are ways to get in that might not be through the conventional means. Does anyone have a better plan, or should I try and get in contact with?
I definitely don't have another plan, but if there's gonna be a maelstrom coming and the Citadel is gonna get locked down and we're not very welcome, then I think we've got to move fast because they're gonna unlock that now. Like, if we're doing it, we've got to do it now.
Right.
I might have an in.
Oh.
And at this point, Matt, I've got a point in allies.
Mm-hmm.
While that isn't explicitly with someone in the group in the what you call them, it may be who might know a little more about the political side of things than I do.
Sure. Can I nominate someone? Sorry, you cut out a little bit there, but I think we got the gist. No, go ahead.
I think you're getting fragments of me from about 5 seconds ago.
Yeah.
But so the background on my ally is that they're kind of a Wraith neophyte. They're very interested in things that are new that turn up in the Shadowlands, and as a well-respected programmer, I am kind of an avatar of the things that are new, and they kind of latched onto me and had me give little talks on programming theory and databases.
Sure. Can I nominate someone from our NPC cast list to be that individual?
Yeah, sure. If you think it would match.
Absolutely. I would like it to be a kind of fashionable and Wraith with many friends, with fingers in many pies, many of which he will shape to his own devisings. There's an individual called Tariq, who is a masker, which is a Wraith who manipulates the plasma of the other Wraith or themselves to make them look different in some way. Tariq, definitely, you are fully aware that Tariq considers you a curiosity rather than a genuine, friend. But he seemed to like indulge you a fair amount over that time. And hey, if nothing else as well, the ability to change what you all look like might be a massive advantage to getting behind those walls. You're also damn sure that if anyone you know how to smuggle or get into the Citadel, it is Tariq, because he has friends everywhere. No one he probably particularly likes, but, acquaintances everywhere. Maybe that's a better way to put it. How does that sound?
Yeah, that's certainly, that'll do for my in. And while I won't name names, that's where I'll bend our course to, his last known location.
Well, you know where Tariq works out of, and it's not too far from here. It's in the city centre, so he works in an old kind of fancy dress costume shop.
If you will all indulge me, my my inn is not too far from here, and it might be a good idea to see if we can bargain for sanctuary.
Let's
Sounds
do it.
Sounds like as good a plan as any. Abby, you in?
So almost before everyone has finished talking, and maybe before Abby's finished talking, Brian's already started making his hurried way toward
Sure.
the destination.
I have no better ideas, so let's follow Brian, I guess.
If we look back behind us, as definitely moving on, but if we're looking back behind us, like, is that sort of not cone, like sphere
Like,
of
like a sphere or a bubble. Yeah,
still kind of,
it's still there, and it's still slowly rolling forwards.
and we are
Absolutely.
still heading away from it, hopefully.
Yeah, you are heading away from it, just in a slightly different direction to how you were heading before. And you're walking through the relative calm of the Shadowlands. The relative calm of the Skinlands, that you can see people just going about their day, although you see every now and then someone kind of stopping and looking at where the pillar of kind of black smoke rises over the center of Cincinnati from the scorched remains of the public library. The Shadowlands, a different story. Every now and then you see kind of like hissing vents in space where before, there wouldn't have been that. You hear odd noises. You hear kind of almost a howling sound of wind far above you, even though when you look up, you can't see anything blowing about or anything untowards. And there is definitely a growing sense of, do you remember we talked about when you were walking to the library, there was a sudden sense of pressure, like a storm was suddenly arising around you? There's that, but it's not sudden now. It's just there, slowly rising in pitch. Kind of a sensation of something is about to erupt or explode or bad. And, as well as like a physical sensation, it's also just like you can feel your fight or flight response just rising to match it. Something is coming and you don't want to be here when it arrives. So you strike out towards Tariq's costume shop, and you know what? A hell of a lot of this session, not to give spoilers, I have a long list of lovely encounters that you might have in this tumultuous Cincinnati as the Nile is growing and the maelstrom is imminent. And I am just going to randomize a whole bunch of them through this session. So it's like our own very, very own Into the Odd tonight, as we slightly randomize our way through this existential battlefield. There we go. Okay, that's fine. As you start moving through the streets of the Shadowlands, you slowly become aware ahead of you of the sound of other individuals, and you think they must be other restless because you can hear them a bit more distinctly than you can hear the sort of muted tones of events in the Skinlands. But ahead and maybe round a corner, you can hear a number of wraiths with raised accusatory voices, while another wraith seems to be kind of like pleading and defending themselves in sort of desperate tones.
I sort of wander over for no other reason than potentially this might be a source of outrage.
Sure. Is anyone else taking any more cautious or circumstantial approach to this, or are we happy going with Ronan?
I'm not sure Tammy particularly wants to get involved. Just a bit more, maybe a bit frustrated, like a bit of a with seeing Ronan veering off for this, and I think Tammy's keeping a bit more out of it.
Sure.
I think Abby will go with Ronan just to not have him go on his own.
Absolutely. So any of you who are kind of approaching with Ronan, you get a better look as soon as you round the corner. You see a number of wraiths, including some who you recognize from the library, other restless who escaped. You knew you weren't the only ones to survive, and you recognize these some of these wraiths of having been there. They are gathered in kind of a semicircle around Emily Perfect, Monitor, the individual who pointed your way there, and they are haranguing her rather threateningly. At the moment, it's purely threatening, but at least a couple of them look, angry enough to maybe actually start something. They are the general gist you get as you approach is that these wraiths think it all too coincidental that all of the fetters taken to the library were from individuals who had used Emily's services as a monitor. Well, that is apparently it. Emily, as you approach, she kind of glances over and sees more individuals walking over to this, and is just like desperately has her hands up, going, "Please, I don't. It's just a coincidence. I've worked with half the wraiths in Cincinnati. Come on." Yeah. She has like a big rucksack, maybe of her like possessions, as few possessions of wraiths have. The rucksack itself is quite a nice relic, kind of like sprawled on the ground nearby her. She's still wearing that kind of like dress with the odd octopoid design on it. And as before, she doesn't blink. She never blinks.
I think when I notice that she's there, I'll start to move up behind the ones who are approaching, because while she is not an ally, she's at least an acquaintance.
Yeah, sure.
If Brian's gone on as well, he's the one who knows the way to the other guy. I'll follow Brian.
That's fair enough. Ronan and Abby, you're approaching first. How are you going to engage with this, if at all?
I am going to say, I hadn't considered that, but perhaps you can calm these people down. I'll say to Emily, by telling us who you have spoken to, if you've spoken to any new people recently, if you've, I don't believe for a second that someone such as yourself would sell your customers down the river in any sort of sinister way. So perhaps you can help us. Perhaps you can help all of these fine and justified individuals by telling us if there's any. Yeah.
Well, there was. Yes, there was one new wraith I hadn't seen before. Maybe it was him. He I don't know what he's called. He's a skinny, bedraggled old man, like a big beard like a thicket, big soulful eyes. Some of you must have, has anyone seen him? Or one of the other race kind of goes, yeah. And he's kind of like a big guy dressed in a very old-fashioned sort of suit with like almost like an old like Chicago gangster's hat like tucked down on it, and he's kind of got a wrench in one hand that he was proffering quite threateningly, and he says, I've seen him around.
Did he seem like
Yes.
this sort of individual who might
very, very untrustworthy? I thought very untrustworthy. And you know, I don't know if I don't keep notes or anything. I'm not that stupid, but who knows? He could have used some mind reading arcanoi on me. They exist. They do exist.
I'll turn to the group, the man with the wrench, and say, if her entire business model is finding fetters, why would she be involved in destruction of fetters? There's no motive there. You can't.
Could you give me a roll there, please? Are you being honest, or is this kind of like, well, you pick your choice of charisma or manipulation for a start.
Based on if you're being honest or not.
Yeah, basically. Or I mean, you could still be being honest, but being manipulative, trying to so your choice of those, and then persuasion will be the other one, I think. And let's have it at difficulty 7, please.
I have an ulterior motive, but I am also being truthful. Like, it is a weird motive to carry it out. One of them went on the floor.
That's an automatic success, I think.
Definitely.
It was a 1, which cancelled out my only success.
Okay. The wraiths gathered round, including the large guy with the wrench, seem pretty unaffected by this, and the wraith with the wrench goes, "Shut up! This isn't your business."
I think I'll cut in at that point, and then quite a commanding voice that you haven't heard me use so far will be like, "All of you, what do you think you were doing? Half of the city is falling into oblivion. Now is not the time for a kangaroo court. You need to get to safety."
Chris, can you roll charisma plus leadership for me, please?
Oh, God damn it.
Oh, were you going for persuasion?
I was going for kind of more manipulation plus literally anything.
Well, you can take manipulation. You can definitely take manipulation. Do you want to pair that with
I do have dots in leadership.
Yeah. Manipulation and leadership. I think because they don't know you, I'll ratchet up the difficulty a bit. You're being quite commanding, but I think it's a difficulty 8, being as they have no reason to follow your instructions other than your own personal gravitas. I think Brian has some gravitas, so...
Ho, 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 ho! That's a mighty impressive roll, but it is only 2 successes.
Hey, that's enough. The wraiths kind of like spin round as you walk over, and a couple of the more nervous-looking ones sort of just start to like sidle and slink off on their own, kind of looking around them as if like Oblivion is about to jump out of the bushes nearby. And the big guy with the wrench, who definitely seems to be like the ringleader, goes, "Fuck it. Yeah, all right. This isn't over, perfect. Let's find that old man." And he just kind of stomps down the street with a couple of the others sort of like nervously tagging along behind him, and the others kind of like wander off in all directions.
All right, are you done playing heroes now? Because Brian's right. We've got to get out of here.
Miss Perfect, I believe I'm not outside of my rights to count that as a favor paid.
Yes, thank you. Consider us even. Even. She's kind of looking around at all the others, having kind of like dispersed.
Now, can we help you get somewhere safe? And can you maybe help us get somewhere safe?
I can't. It was so much money. I'm sorry.
Oh, gosh. Who or what was it?
It was the old man. Well, I hadn't seen him before. He came to my office. He said he was working on behalf of someone called Lord Malachite. It was soul steel bullion. So much of it. He said I would be protected if it was revealed, and he said it wasn't for anything truly bad. I went to meet them with the old man. He was there. This Malachite was... What did he look like? I can't remember. He was frightening.
Look at him.
Was he wearing green?
Maybe. I can't really remember. I gave him everything. Names. Locations. I'm sorry.
Miss Perfect, might I impose for a moment? And I place my hand on her shoulder and I say, tell me what Lord Malachite looked like. And I'm going to use my open book arcanoi
Okay,
to try and jog her memory.
That's Nemesign, right?
Yep.
Okay, let's have a look at this. Nemesinus systems. God, that's so. The difficulty of any arts.
Do you have any dice for this, John? Because if so, some are being offered.
I've got dice. I say checking. I've got dice. I'm good.
I don't think you heard her. I think she was offering you dice, John.
Dice, John, dice.
Dice. We're all your shadow.
It's like
that's not fair.
Chris and Pierre are terrible influences.
The difficulty is 6. And the roll is intelligence plus Nemesinus, and it will cost you 3 pathos.
Okay. It does also specify if the subject doesn't actually possess the memory, then it won't work. But it's whether she possesses the memory but doesn't
it's
remember
been blocked or repressed somehow. Yes, absolutely. Go for it.
This might be the most important information you ever need to get. You cannot fuck this up like you fuck up everything else. Take the dice. Or help, or whatever a shadow would say. They probably talk about dice, do they?
Nice! I don't know what they are. Take them. Yes.
How much dice were you offering?
4.
Oof.
I'm going to take 2.
Can you choose how many? I don't think you can choose how many of them.
I thought I could pick how much help.
So. I think shadow dice is like how much they offer is what you take. I think.
In that case, I'm going to.
Let me just double check.
Ignore.
Shadow dice. Yeah, I don't think you can pick and choose.
I'm going to block the voice out and focus on perfect.
Okay.
That cancels that. That cancels that. 1 success.
Okay, for 1 success, what you're going to get is, because you live through the memories, right? Is the idea. You are going to get an impression of, you don't recognize the place. It looks quite unremarkable. Maybe in the interior of an old abandoned building. You see the old man she described, who is almost exactly as described, sort of cowering slightly in a corner, looking both disinterested and kind of fearful of what's going on. And you see in front of Emily Perfect a tall figure shrouded in dark green robes, hovering in the air before her with a shadowed face. You get the impression of panic and fear from Emily Perfect, and then the memory is gone. You didn't hang on enough to experience their dialogue or anything like that. But yes, Lord Malachite is the figure from the library.
It was him.
So you did fuck everything up for us then.
I'm sorry. Please. I didn't know.
What have you done?
I don't know. Look, most of them they'll be all right. They'll come back. Just one feta less. Look, I'm leaving. I want to. I can't get out of town, but I'm gonna lay low. Okay, you won't hear from me again if you don't want to. And all your favors, they're forgiven. They're cancelled. You owe me nothing.
Look, Emily, you stay safe. If you've a crime to pay for, it's above our pay grade. We've our own.
Thank you, thank you, Brian. You're a real gentleman. She's kind of glancing quite fearfully at Tammy as she says this. She picks up that rucksack and kind of heaves it onto her shoulder. There's an audible, deep clinking noise from it.
You almost got my niece hurt.
I know. I'm sorry, but she's all right, right? All your fetters are all right. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here.
She's alive? Do you have any idea how traumatic it must be for an 8-year-old child to be dragged away from her parents?
I am going to use a thorn, honeyed tongue, to make me almost preternaturally persuasive to you. To say, she got paid to put Emily in danger. She can't be allowed to get away with this. You've got to do something now.
By Emily, I'm assuming you mean the
yeah, I do. Sorry, yeah.
I can't remember. Has she got
Charlotte?
a name yet?
But her
Charlotte.
name is getting mixed up with literally everyone. I called her Abby before.
Yeah.
Even Charlotte, yeah.
Hey, you're a wraith. Things go from your brain. Is there any kind of like mechanic?
Yes. So I have to roll temporary angst, with the difficulty being the target's manipulation plus subterfuge.
Ooh.
Which is 3.
That's not good.
I've got quite a lot of angst, I think, have I? Oh no, I've only got 2. I'm down to 2, so it might not be.
You're still probably going to get at least 1 3.
2 successes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
So you believe me, basically, that she needs to be. She can't get away with this, and you need to do something about it now.
Yeah, that seems completely legit.
Does that cost any angst to use or anything?
Yes, it costs me 1 angst.
Okay. Abby, what are you going to do?
I will grab the is she wearing her rucksack over her shoulder, or is she just holding it?
Yes, she is,
yeah. I grab her by the backpack, I think. And I say, you've fucked with so many people, but they're dead, all right? It doesn't matter. Charlotte's a child. She has her entire life ahead of her. You could have ended that.
I'm sorry. Please let me go. I couldn't have known.
Dice for grabbing and actioning things.
She isn't trying to wrestle away from you yet. She's kind of glancing at probably Brian more than anyone else, but also Ronan a bit to see if they'll intervene and
I think
get you to let her go.
Yeah,
I think I will actually intervene at this point. It'll be like, Abby, what are you playing at? Young lady, now is absolutely not the time. You can't fix a problem after it's already happened. Everyone needs to survive. Then we can go and Judge Judy our way out of this. No, who was the 1990s guy? We can go and
Judge Dredd.
What's his name? Jerry Springer. We can go and Jerry Springer our way out of this.
Look, Abby, I agree with Brian here. She needs to pay, but maybe not with her corpus. I heard a sound in that backpack. Perhaps
she's starting to look a little bit shifty.
Some of that aforementioned soul steel bullion will ease our passage to safety.
That could be arranged. Wear guild of a kind. Yes. Abby, please.
How much do you think my niece's life is worth, Emily?
More than I could pay you. More than I could pay you. I know that. Look, I'll help you. I'll give you some payment now, and then later, when all this is calmed down, I'll help you with her. I can do that. You know I can do that. She's your fetter. I can help. I can make her stronger. I can make your connection stronger. I can reach out. I have allies who can help her in the Skinlands. I can do these things, but I can't do that if you hurt me now.
Abby,
promise.
Please, now is not the time.
She has to pay.
I grab the rucksack off her shoulder.
She's definitely going to fight back if you try and grab the entire rucksack off her.
I'm going to grab the entire rucksack.
Sure. Yeah, it's just
Five.
contested strength plus brawl. Then, I guess.
For you here, buddy.
How many?
So strength plus
5
brawl.
dice.
Yeah, why
You
not?
have to get this back. She has to pay.
Okay, so
I
her
really want to
strength-
intercede, but I can't imagine how a 3-way contested roll would work in World of Darkness, so I'll hold back for this action.
No, yeah, it'll work just. It'll work just fine. Roll your strength plus brawl if you want to help her out with it. Go for it. Just for the note, for everyone's awareness, her successes are 0. So, you know.
Well, Brian's successes are 4.
My successes are 2, and no botches, unfortunately, for...
Oh, no,
Okay.
no one's a winner except me.
Yeah, so I'm going to judge this as this. Like, Abby, you like start pulling the rucksack off her, and she's like almost tipping over, trying to hang on to it. Brian, you step in between, and you're quite a large guy, right? I think from what you've said, like quite a
Strength
tall,
strength
sort
is
of
not my
imposing-
dump stat. I'm strength 3, so I'm pretty like
and you kind of wrestle the like Abby's grip off the rucksack a little bit. And Emily takes this opportunity to kind of like scamper back a good kind of like 10 feet or so, but she is reaching and kind of rummaging in the rucksack, going, I'll pay you, I promise I'll pay you.
Abby, not
How did you
just
fuck that
now.
up?
She withdraws her hand from the rucksack, and it has, like I say, soul steel bullion. So it's a kind of glistening, shiny, sort of odd. The sheen of soul steel is odd, almost like it's swirling, not like mother of pearl, but completely monochromatic. And she takes, she like grabs an ingot of soul steel. This is more soul steel than any of you have ever seen in one place. And kind of takes out and kind of like hefts it on the floor kind of near Abby's feet and says, look, and that could be just my down payment, and I promise I will help Charlotte. I will help her. I'll undo it all. I'll make things better. I will. I'm going to go now, and I'm going to lay low, and when I come out of hiding, I can't leave Cincinnati. You know that. My connections are here, the same as yours, and I'll help you, and I'll help Charlotte. Okay.
I'll go lean down and pick up the soul steel and go, look, okay, we've accepted this. These terms are good, right, Abby? Right?
Abby, don't be a fool,
do.
please.
Fine. Yes.
Thank you. And you won't regret this. I'm full of regret. You won't regret this. I'll help Charlotte. I will. Okay. I'll see you all later. You should find somewhere safe.
Can just for this whole interaction, could I roll outrage? Because it felt like there was quite a lot of outrage going on during the whole thing.
Yeah. What is your exact passion there?
Well, it's less applicable because it's kind of like reject the intruder to my shop is the exact passion. This isn't really rejection.
But you are right. What you're rolling is primarily like the emotion, not the direct thing. Otherwise, you'd have to find someone who's rejecting an intruder from their shop, which would be very difficult. But it's not your outrage so much.
No.
So roll that at difficulty 8, and any success you get gives you a point of pathos. Cool. If you get 2 successes, take 2 points of pathos. And everyone else,
I would
do flag up
also-
if you're doing this. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, I'm going to do exactly the same thing, but I think I've got a better stake with I have a passion, protect the system from young idiots. And while the system in this case is generally
Sure.
It's more the idiots part that you're applying here, not the not the system.
Abby was about to do something perhaps foolish. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that is your own passion, so you can make that roll at difficulty 6.
So
Should I-
I have one that's the emotion there is like desperation, but I mean the actual thing is nothing to do with it. It's the kind of proving my death was, you know, a deliberate because of my success, or my promise. But the core thing is desperation. Would something like that even apply potentially?
I don't think so to what just happened necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I roll for protect my niece?
Yes. Difficulty 6. Cool.
Does my shadow have something to roll on that as well? I can't remember what my dark passions exactly were.
I don't think so. Punish agent, raise evidence of shame, sabotage usurpers, and there's an anger on that. But
and that's also when I don't think, it's also not just ambient stuff that rolls dark passions. It's when the shadow indulges in it themselves, or they provoke someone else to do it. It's not just like if it happens around them, they can't just feed off it that way. It's a bit more difficult for shadows.
But she was provoking me to get fighty, which is why I was
so I
wondering.
don't know whether anger counts there. But the anger was more around the sabotaging the usurpers in the.
Yeah, no.
I think intentionally. No, it's when the wraith indulges in an emotion that matches the core of a dark passion. So Abby was angry, so you can definitely roll that. It's difficulty 7 for that, and you gain, angst based on that. So yeah, cool. Let's move on from that though, because that's one of several scenes tonight, and it took much longer than I thought it would. But that's
Sorry,
great.
on those rolls, so I got a 10 out of 1. Does the botch knock off the success?
It will. It will
this
be,
as well.
yes. Yeah. Okay, so Emily Perfect shoulders that rucksack and scampers off kind of out of sight of where you are. I'm assuming we're moving on towards Tariq again. Okay. The storm is now much more visibly brewing behind you. You can hear like distant kind of disconnected rumbling, as though, you know, thunder is rolling somewhere in the deep behind you, and it's somewhat distracting, which is why I'm going to make you roll to notice when a few other restless individuals stumble out of the nearby entrance to park. So can people make a roll for wits plus alertness, please? Just standard difficulty.
1 success.
1, 1, 3. How'd you do, Chris?
0.
0 in that case. Brian does not notice, and Brian, I think you've said that you're like marching ahead of the others, so maybe that's you don't have time to notice as 3 individuals sort of walk out of the entrance to a nearby park. There are a number of, you know, the streets are still alive with the quick, but these are obviously wraiths as they emerge. They are dressed in kind of semi patchwork uniforms that the local Cincinnati Legionnaires, or legionaries rather, would tend to wear, and at least one of them has like a relic pistol that they're kind of like proffering around them as they kind of nervously look around. Abby and Ronan and Tammy, you definitely have seen them in time to try and hide or secure yourselves in some way away from this small patrol. Brian, you don't, but I'm going to judge that, seeing as 3 of you had enough time to do this, if one of you wants to also make a roll to try and grab Brian away from there, you can do that, but it will make your overall roll more difficult. Or you could just confront them. It's up to you.
I think Tammy would duck, and I think she's prone to grabbing people and just pulling them out of the way. So, yeah.
That is Tammy's nature. Just grab, yank.
Just get it done.
It's very
Fair
direct.
enough.
If several of us tried to grab, because I think Abby is now feeling slightly foolish about the outburst and feels slightly indebted to Brian for stepping in before she did something very stupid.
Sure.
So I might also try and grab.
Okay. Well then, if Ronan is the only one who isn't, let's deal with your thing first. Are you? How? There's quite a lot around to hide yourself in. You could blend in with the general crowds of the quicker round. As I say, you're on the edge of a park that has like a low wall. You could try and duck behind the wall or the tree, or
I think I'll try and blend in with the crowd.
Bit of Assassin's Creed style social blending. Showing my age there, because the franchise has not had that for a very long time. Yeah, absolutely. Why don't you give us a probably a wits plus streetwise roll, please. Okay. While we're doing that, the other two, if you're trying to just grab and drag Brian away and secure yourselves, why don't you both roll probably dexterity plus stealth, please, and your difficulties are both going to be 8 for that.
Oh no.
Don't forget willpower if you've got some.
Yeah, I'm going to spend a willpower.
Oh, I think I'm going to give you all a point of temporary willpower back for escaping the Nile as well.
Yeah,
that was a significant victory. I think you can all take a point back.
3 social for me.
1 success.
Okay. Well, I think you've both got enough to actually secure yourselves, and also I think because Tammy rolled more, Tammy's going to be the one to grab Brian. And Ronan, how many successes did you get?
I got a botch.
Oh, okay then. So Tammy, you grab a hold of Brian. Brian, are you going to resist as you're? You know it's Tammy grabbing you and kind of dragging you over to one side. Are you going to resist in any way?
I don't think so, because I think I'm starting to trust this group. So I imagine they probably spotted something I haven't.
Sure. Tammy, you kind of grab Brian and drag him over and kind of stumble over the wall and lurk behind a large nearby tree. Abby, you just about manage to get behind that tree in the same time frame as that. Ronan, you wheel round, kind of walk, kind of try and dive amongst a group of sort of quick, who are like a group of teenagers who are gathered by a nearby dumpster in a side alley, and as you kind of like move towards there and like reaching out to try and like maybe even become kind of like float through them, damaging your corpus, you hear a voice behind you go, "Hi, you come back here now."
I sort of keep walking, hoping that my blending in has worked.
There is a loud, sharp report of the relic gun firing near your feet.
Okay. Sorry. I slowly turn around and head towards the people.
Yeah, that's right. Nice and slow.
Is it just that gun? Is there just
there is one gun? Yeah, the others have like sort of like maybe like one of them's got like a relic knife, and the other one is not visibly armed. You know, these are not elite crack troops here in Cincinnati. They're just equipped with whatever they can scavenge.
And how close are they?
They are about maybe like 25 feet away from you.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to use... Oh, this is such a bad idea, but also I have to. I'm going to use Decay, which is a flux ability. Mm-hmm. And I am going to... I'm going to decay the firing mechanism inside of the gun.
Okay. So spend 2 pathos and roll dexterity plus flux.
Yeah. Oh man, I only have 3 pathos, which I was hoping to use to heal myself, but then...
Well, let me tell you what the difficulty of this is, because I think you would know based on the shroud, and you can tell me whether you still want to do this or not.
Okay.
I think the difficulty of this, you're in a public area in central Cincinnati. It's still, it's height of summer, so it's still quite bright. I'm going to say this is a difficulty 9 roll.
Okay. I don't think I can make it.
It does take most of your pathos to do as well, so it's up to you though.
I mean, it's just a gun.
I mean, if they wanted to shoot you, they would have shot you.
Yeah, okay. Maybe my better bet is instead to just attempt to run. Like, so I'll...
Okay.
So I'm gonna yeah, I think I'm gonna like attempt to time it so that, like, I don't know. Actually,
I mean,
yeah.
You say time it, they're watching you walk slowly
They
towards
are
them and
watching
aiming a
me.
gun at you.
Well, I was saying I was going to hope to time it with any time that they look away or stop paying attention to me. But obviously, them having noticed me,
they're not doing
going to. Yeah, unless distracted, and I can't see a way to make that happen unless there is I can't really.
One of your companions is going to try and do that.
Yeah, so I guess I'll slowly start walking towards them, and if I don't see anything like that, then I will just, I guess, try and just run at some point.
Sure.
And call their bluff on whether they're going to shoot somebody running away.
You get within about like 15 feet of them, and the one with the gun goes, "Yeah, that's far enough. What's your name? Quick! What's your name?"
My name's Jonathan. Jonathan Smith.
What's your name?
Okay, you got me. I'm Richie Sanchez.
All right. Name on the list. Like one of the other wraiths like has like a very old-fashioned sort of clipboard, like an opening clipboard, with like an ink pen hanging off it, like presumably a relic of some kind. And like he flips it open and looks down and goes, Richie Ronan. No, Richie Sanchez. I've got another Richie. And they like look over and go, no. All right. Will you get out of here? All the area between the library and the Citadel. No man's land now. You're not allowed here. Move on. And don't bother any other patrols, all right?
Absolutely. I'm sorry for taking up your time.
Yeah, well, you keep your nose clean.
I will do.
One with the gun kind of gestures quite threateningly at you with it, and they kind of walk a circle around you and carry on.
What was that about? No man's land? Names on lists? We gotta get out of here.
They had your name, Ronan. How many Ronans are running around out here? Oh, you've got us into trouble, haven't you?
It wasn't me. Look.
It never is.
Look, we've just got to get out of here, okay? If they've got my name, I'm sure they've got they're looking for all of us. So,
Brian, how far away is Tarek? We've got to move.
Right?
He's right around the corner.
We may have lost. Oh no, there he is.
I'm just barely hanging on by like 6 bits a second here. I am keen to get to my contact as quick as possible. Are we any closer? How far is it in meters or random encounters, whichever your chosen unit is?
I'm going to have one random encounter between here and Tariq's place. Just so you know.
It's only one random encounter.
Yeah. It's not far. It's not far at all.
It's 3 paces, but it's like Pokemon.
Literally
very busy paces.
Yeah. Hold fast. Sure. We're nearly there.
Okay. In that case, you carry onwards. Only one thing happens between.
I think as we're going, I might say, Ronan, you might also want to be a little bit more convincing. Jonathan with a question mark? Yeah, gotta be
Jonathan
better than
Smith,
that.
I don't suppose you'd consider not naming yourself after a scientific luminary of the 18th century? Or, the founder of a church? Actually, I think
don't
you
think anybody
chose the
knows who
most...
that is. Just
That's
say it more
actually the
convincingly.
worst name you could have picked.
Look, sometimes, in order to... The second one worked, right?
In fact, isn't John Smith literally a name you use when you need a fake name for something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Which is
Test
why
or
the
something.
patrol were like, yeah, try again, pal. Absolutely. It was a nice double bluff, though, It was,
It's all about the second. It's all about the follow-up.
Yeah. I don't want to know where you learned that. So, can you tell me, please, which one of you has the highest score in awareness? Quick poll of who has what people have in awareness. Ronan has 2.
Also 2.
Also 2. Also, is that 3 there, Inga? 2. Chris?
I got 0.
0. Okay. In that case, I'm gonna we'll have a roll off, but it takes time, so I'm just gonna random it. Okay. So, Inga, as you're kind of striding down the streets of Cincinnati towards Tariq's costume shop, you're passing through one of the areas in central Cincinnati that in the world of darkness has been reduced to a state of disrepair and decay. I think we passed through one once before where we were walking across like the rubble left after a building had been demolished. And this is a similar area, a deserted and barren back street that you're wandering down when you're slightly behind the others, not significantly, you're just at the end of the kind of trail of people. And you're suddenly overwhelmed by an odd feeling of peace in the stillness and decay. You stop moving for just a moment, and in that instant, a rent through to the tempest opens up by you. Through swirling existential clouds, you see a burning wasteland in what seems to be the wreckage of a city. The architecture is unfamiliar and old-fashioned, perhaps somewhere in Europe. No bodies can be seen in the wreckage, and then immense black shapes, 13 in total, your mind oddly registers with clarity, rise over the horizon. Even though you are oddly calm and still, you know with a cold certainty you should feel terror beyond anything you have ever known, raiding off of the looming dark things rearing far above you. 1,000 voices suddenly rush towards you, all whispering one word like the sound of a mighty wind. Gehenna. Everyone else, Tammy has stopped and is staring at nothing.
Tammy?
Tammy, there is no rent in the tempest in front of you. It's worth noting you have no idea what the word Gehenna means.
You okay?
Does anybody know what Gehenna means?
I would like a roll from everyone for intelligence plus occult at difficulty 10.
I have 3 dice. Nope.
God damn it.
Can I take academics and know the kind of the root of the words in normal?
I actually should have asked for academics rather than occult. You're absolutely right, because there's no way that you'd know. But it's still difficulty 10 because it's like none of you are theologians.
3 successes! Someone
3
was paying attention
10s.
during 3 10s out of 6 dices.
Oh my word! Maybe Bible studies was briefly a thing of Brian's in college before. Maybe he maybe lost his faith, or maybe he just I don't know. Maybe Gehenna is a place in the Bible, a bad place. A place of burning is what it translates as. So kind of a place that a lot of apocalyptic imagery is used around. As you suspected, Chris, Brian has no idea about its use in the world of darkness, Vampire the Masquerade context, but you know about the biblical use. Don't know if Chris got any of that. Nope. Cat sneeze.
That is the true meaning of Gehenna.
It was really weird. It's not here anymore, but there was another one of those rents, and I don't know, maybe
I didn't see anything.
I don't know if that was a warning or some kind of
It's a Hebrew thing, isn't it? It's apocalypse, or it's a location, if I remember correctly.
Well, I think it's coming, or that's where that Nile leads to, or something. I don't know, but I think this has happened before, or
I mean, could be referring to the Maelstrom.
Yeah,
that could be a link in your head. It looked like a European city wrecked beyond imagining, and all of you know that the last great maelstrom was during World War II.
This is really bad. It was do you know what the scariest thing though was? That I was there and it was awful. I could see how this thing was just the worst thing ever, and I had to it was, you did not want to be there, but I was weirdly calm, and it was just there, just staring. We need to go before something like this traps us again.
Exactly. I think we should get a move on.
Absolutely, and you strike through the streets of Cincinnati, and before long you find yourself outside an old, sort of dusty but still open, kind of fancy dress, costume, theatrical store. You can see that people are working there. There's a young, kind of like bored-looking student working behind the desk, not attending anyone because no one's in there. When you've been here before, Brian, Tariq works from the very back storage rooms. That's where you've met him before.
I think I'll just kind of lead everyone in.
Okay, you walk past the quick attendant, and there's no one else seemingly in here. You pass the doors to the back rooms are fortunately open. You pass through there and through like big racks full of boxes of masks and wigs and costumes of various kinds, stacks of grease paint, until you emerge in a back area that's a little more open than the rest of it, but definitely dingy, and the boxes are kind of like unopened and old, and there's a swath of dust on the floor that's seemingly undisturbed. Maybe people who work here don't like to come back here that much. Overhead is a single kind of like piercing light bulb in kind of a just kind of hanging from the ceiling and showing almost a circle on the floor, at the center of which is a battered wooden stool. And standing in the shadows to one side, kind of like carefully peering out at the sound of people coming here, and then sort of emerging, looking a little reassured by Brian's presence and re-emerging, is Tariq. He's a very tall individual in a very nicely cut pinstripe suit. He has like a sort of cultivated mess of dark hair and a well-trimmed beard. He notably has like a large satchel on a table nearby, which he appears to have been putting things in. And as he comes out, he's like, in one hand he's got like a cat's cradle with string, which he is like rather deftly like moving around his fingers, almost like subconsciously. He emerges and goes, "Oh, that's unexpected company. Hello, Brian. I think I've seen most of the other three of you around before. How can I help you? I'm kind of busy. I think most people are right now."
I think that's
Just a moment. Yes, Tariq, it's good to see you again. Obviously, you've heard the news, or at least sensed the disruption that's on its way. I was wondering if we could impose on you for some assistance in finding a way to survive the next while.
Well, I'm making my own preparations to recuse myself to the Citadel, but I don't think I'll have a guest list. What is your situation? Are none of you welcome behind the walls?
That's the long and the short of it.
I don't think we'd mind being a little bit more anonymous. That's all.
Okay.
I admire your work, by the way. Very, very fine.
Thank you. How, Brian, do you trust these individuals? You know, I like to be vouchsafed.
Yes, I think I can vouch for all of them. Some are a little young and hot of head, but they've all proven to be deft in this time of crisis.
Maybe I really can't get you inside. I'm sorry, I do regret that, but as I say, I'm only allowed in because I have friends in the right places. You mentioned wanting to be anonymous. There's not much time for extended work, but have you got anything to offer?
How the Soul Forged steel is like, how is that the I know obviously things like the coins can be like broken down, things like that also fairly easy to kind of break off as well, or is that much harder because it's
much harder. The only reason that coins are done is because it's a small thin coin and you can literally like carve it up as people would historically carve up coins to pay people. The bullion, it needs either melting down via a professional forger or maybe with another very sharp object made of soul steel, like a big hefty one. But other than that, no, not really.
I mean, we just as an idea, we could pay him in soul steel, but once on reaching the destination. But I don't know how other people are feeling. Maybe
he has said he can't get you into the Citadel.
He can't get us into the Citadel.
He said he's willing to do work on you if you want, because Tammy mentioned looking more anonymous.
Yeah. I mean, I myself have some ability. Perhaps I can assist you after these difficult times have passed.
My dear, I don't need assistance.
Okay. Well, perhaps I can recommend people to your fine establishment. A man
Everyone knows
taste
Tariq is the finest masker in Cincinnati. I'm afraid unless we have more concrete payment...
My friends, I have done my best to bring you here, but I cannot give you the currency. Is anyone able to get us out of this bind?
I don't know whether you have suffered like everybody else seems to have in terms of losing a fetter, but we have a rather large favor owed to us by Emily in terms of strengthening things like that, if that's something that you might benefit from.
Emily Perfect?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. A transfer of debt?
She owes us a great debt.
And there's nothing else?
I
might look at Ronan.
Can I try and like... Wait, are the other two just looking at me?
Well, you've got it, right? You've got the Inga.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Can I try sizing this individual up just
Yeah,
to work
sure.
out like if he's just fishing.
Sure. Give me a perception plus empathy roll. But Tariq is a pretty accomplished
Yep. Okay,
individual, so I'm going to say that's a difficulty 9 to get a read on him
okay.
of whether he,
Whether he's like
whether
just
he
fishing.
suspects you've got something or not. Yeah.
Okay. I'm rolling my 5 dice. Ooh. I got 1 success.
You think this guy's clocked you to some degree. Like, you don't know whether, but there was enough.
I mean, the other two looking at me.
Yeah, you think there's enough significant glances and Tammy's mention of Soul Steel definitely raised an eyebrow.
Oh, sorry, that wasn't an out loud. That was
Okay,
a question to.
But anyway,
to
I'll reach into my pocket and pull out.
I think as Tammy sees you reaching, I don't. Well, maybe she's fast enough or not. I don't know. But Ronan, how confident are you in your contacts? Do we need Tariq at all?
I reach inside my pocket and pull out the Soul Steel.
His eyebrow raises again at the sight of the Soul Steel ingot and says, "Well, that'll do." And I'm not an ungenerous man. That's a lot of Soul Steel. I'd say I owe you some more work after all this is done. Don't you think that's fair?
I knew we could count on you to be equitable even in tough times, Tariq. Thank you.
Would putting us back count as that extra work, or would that be gratis?
I mean, it'll wear off after a while anyway, but if it needs to happen quicker, yes, that's gratis, of course. He reaches out the hand that isn't kind of like working at the cat's cradle.
I very hesitantly, and I pass him the ingot.
Kind of a little heavier than he expected. Very nice. He whirls around and kind of pops it in his satchel and then turns back and says, "One of you on the stool." Works the cat's cradle across both hands for a second.
Brian.
Okay, I'll go then, seeing as I've been nominated.
Yes. Brian first. Any requests?
I could do with maybe 10 years off the clock.
Yes, absolutely. Tariq walks forward and kind of looms over you, not threateningly, but he's a tall individual and you're on a stool and he's kind of bending over and he starts whistling as he works. He pulls back one suit's sleeve to reveal an arm swirled and contoured with odd shapes and hues, which he seems to be using as both a kind of comparison tool and a palette of sorts as he reaches out and starts shaping the plasm of your face with his fingertips. It's not a painful sensation, but it is slightly disconcerting and maybe even a bit upsetting if you haven't had it done before. He molds across your face with practice sweeps, and honestly, not very long later, maybe only 60 seconds or so, he stands back and I'm going to simply roll a d10 of basically not how successful he is, but how very different it is, and kind of make a judgment based on that. Okay, 5. Brian looks like, for all the world, honestly, like a much younger Brian. Like, if you were walking down the street, you wouldn't go, "Young Brian?" You know what I mean? Like, you'd think that's a young guy. It's clearly not Brian. You only recognize him because you know what Tariq has done.
That's impressive work.
That was very strange to watch.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
Time is wasting. Next.
Tammy will jump on. No one else is moving fast.
Tammy. He kind of starts whistling as he shapes and moves your plasma around. And again, only around 60 seconds later, does he step back. Tammy, Tammy looks as different from Tammy as is possible to be. So Tammy looks like maybe, I'm going to say, a middle-aged African-American man. Unrecognizable.
Wow.
Sometimes I do impress myself.
That was weird.
Next.
After you, Abby.
I'll go next. Yeah.
Yeah?
Give me a look that suits the name Rupert Evers.
All right. He steps in and kind of like warps your plasm around a little and says, you know, it's odd, but I feel like you already look like a Rupert Evers. He basically gender flips Abby. It's not maybe as a disguise. It's not the most. You literally look like a twin of Abby, like a male twin of Abby. So people would go, they look like Abby quite a lot, but but still, unless they're specifically looking for you and suspect that you've been molliated, it's not a particular problem. But you do look like, yeah. So I guess I'm assuming Rupert Evers is your noir detective pen name.
My pseudonym, yeah.
Yeah. Well, then he's made you look like Rupert Evers, because Rupert Evers is Abby.
I always wondered what he looked like.
Ronan looks like you're last. At this point, kind of like Tariq, he's starting to look a little nervous about how much time this is taking, and sort of, rather than kind of like ask for you, kind of like whistles you over and points at the stool rather urgently.
Very pretty work, but perhaps for me, you could go a little ugly.
More ugly? I jest. He reaches across and kind of swipes down your face really quite fast, and you feel like a blurring and a wrenching. With just a few more taps, he steps back and says, as ordered. Ronan looks like he has been in a rather bad fire.
Perfect. Thank you.
Well, it was wonderful, truly wonderful doing business with you all, but I suggest that you find yourselves somewhere safe. I myself am going to retreat behind the walls. I hope we see each other again.
Yes, thank you.
Of course, Brian, of course. Anything for such a treasured acquaintance. Now, if you could all... Please.
As we leave, I think just quietly to Ronan, I really hope your friends who are going to help us get in don't need any other payment.
Hey, don't look at me.
Him, I think Ronan hopes that too. So, you emerge from Tariq's costume shop just as a kind of like time check, if we are interested. It is now the sun has started to firmly go down now, and the streets are darker, though not yet, not yet full nighttime. And the number of quick on the streets is sort of slowly diminishing. You are still in roughly the center of the city, so it's not kind of empty yet. What is the plan now? You've been molliated. You all look different. Is the idea to strike out towards the Citadel and hope that opportunity presents itself on the way? Is the idea to try? You have honestly no idea where you would locate Yellow Dog, other than broadly the patrols were looking for him. What? Actually, Ronan and Tammy, you're the ones who heard the conversation, such as it was, between Prime and his Legionnaire. Why don't you give me an intelligence roll at standard difficulty to see if you can remember anything about the location where they were saying Yellow Dog could be found?
Just flat intelligence?
Yeah.
1 success.
1 botch. Oh, no, 1 botch.
Okay, then Tammy, you got the impression that they were searching for him on the outskirts of the city, far from here. Ronan, you basically heard nearby, and they mentioned a street name, a street which is still between you and the Citadel. So maybe in this rough area.
Yeah, we could. Right.
Like,
so I remember
maybe heading towards the Citadel is still your best.
Yeah, bet. I remember this. Do you remember where they were headed, Tammy?
They're way too far from here. Like, there's no point even looking. We just
okay.
Somewhere in the outskirts. It's like way too vague.
One of us is wrong, but I guess we can head towards my guess because it's on the way.
I don't think there's any point looking for him because I think he's way far out. But if we're heading to the Citadel anyway, then yeah, sure. If we come across him, but let's not get sidetracked. Let's head to the Citadel.
Yeah, if it's on the way, there's no loss, and going to the Citadel is useless if there's no way in. So, on a wing and a prayer, I suppose we go looking down back streets.
Oh, hang on. How about instead of the chance that you're both wrong, Ronan, come here a sec.
I go over.
I will put my hand on him and use open book again.
Okay, it's the same roll as before. The difficulty is the subject's willpower if they're willing. So what's your willpower, Ronan? Your permanent willpower, that is.
7.
Okay.
I thought it was if they're unwilling.
I thought it was if they were willing. The
any non-consensual use is a resist roll against the target's willpower.
Okay. So what is it otherwise?
Touch. Nope. No, you're right. Never mind. Ignore me.
Yep.
Of course. A little bit of help. No, little bit of help there. 2 dice. Just a little.
Why are you gonna tell me to go psycho on Ronan as well?
I'm trying to help you here.
This costs 1 pathos, by the way.
What's Ronan's willpower?
7.
Just the little nudge you need. We've both got to get out of here safely.
How much is on offer?
2 dice.
I will take those 2 dice. No ones on those, but 1, 2, 3 successes.
Okay. Yeah, you experience that moment in the church vividly and accurately. You hear the conversation, such as it is between the Prime, or at least the sound of that kind of like gravelly, like whispering and wheezing that emerged from that helm, and the Legionnaire. Ronan has the right of it. Yellow Dog was spotted somewhere between that location and the Citadel, which places it on your road to the Citadel. Chris seems to be doing some shadowy stuff.
You're really going to let that little ratty man get the better of you? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I don't actually have anything I can trigger. My thorns aren't useful in this scenario, but I'm going to remind you that I'm going to try and get you to stop your rival from succeeding, Ronan being your rival in this game. I'm going to remind you of your competitive nature and that this is a bit of an affront.
I just don't want us to waste our time, all right? Let's just get there.
Well, it's on the way.
I really don't think so, but...
Well... okay. Tammy, that's your opinion, but we're all heading in the same direction anyway, so let's just go.
Fine.
Okay.
Let's.
So, sounds like you're all striking out towards the walls of the Citadel, which, as I said before, is in an area of Cincinnati called Columbia Tusculum to the southeast. Chris, do you have anything more to offer a shadow? Can take that as a no. So, as you are striking out, it's the wonderful roll of a die again. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Who in the group has the highest corpus? That is a question I wish to ask. 4 for Ronan, not very much.
Yeah, at the moment.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 for you two. I think
What?
Chris is having connection problems at the moment, unless he corrects me.
I think I.
So, yeah. So, he switched back. How you doing, Chris?
I am back. Am I needed to roll something?
No. What is your corpus currently?
Oh, it's lots. I've taken 3 out of 10, and that's bashing.
Okay, that's fine. Did you do any healing at the beginning of the session when we were talking about healing before the stream?
Yes, I did, and I also spent a pathos when I was juggling my pathos around earlier with the
right.
passions.
No problem.
So.
But you're at 7 now. That's absolutely fine. Then I'm going to randomize between Abby and Tammy. It's Tammy again, getting all the random stuff happening to her this time around. As you are walking along, kind of definitely a rougher area of the center of Cincinnati, kind of a place with a lot of apartment blocks, with a lot of economically disadvantaged people around, as close to a slum as to make no odds, essentially. You walk past kind of the front steps of a very rough-looking one of these apartment blocks. There is a young girl, maybe 5 or 6, sat on the steps, just kind of like watching the world go by in the evening. She looks she has very poor clothes in very poor repair and looks slightly malnourished. As you walk past Tammy, she looks directly at you and says, "Are you really there?"
Who are you?
My name's Alice. You're all pale like an old picture.
You can see me.
Yes. I can. You look like the old man in the basement. Sometimes he scares me, but other times he just looks real sad.
You should... I don't think it's going to be safe here, kid. You should go somewhere safer.
It's safe here, sort of, when the cops don't come around.
Not if you're seeing ghosts.
Are you in heaven?
No.
Oh. Well, if you do go there, can you tell my mama I made more drawings for her? There's the call of an older voice inside, like an old woman's voice, and Alice kind of stands up and says, "I've got to go." And she kind of looks back at you slightly with a slightly lingering glance, and then, unless you have the chance to say one last thing for sure.
I'll tell her.
She walks inside.
Did you guys see?
Oh yeah. You heard the entire interaction.
Oh my god, that would break your heart.
That's not normal though, right?
Sometimes kids see things that the adults don't.
Charlotte's seen me a few times. I wasn't sure if it was because of the link, but I guess not.
Did we see what house she went into?
Yeah, you're right in front of the apartment block that she went into for sure.
Should we check out this basement? Do we have time?
If there's someone down there that hasn't heard about the maelstrom, maybe we should give them a warning.
I don't think we can go around into every house and check if there's people there who haven't heard about this. I think we've got to get to safety.
I agree with Tammy. The story's heartbreaking, but we gotta go.
Of currency.
Sorry, Chris, I think we lost the beginning of that.
We are in need of currency and favors. We have neither, and we keep getting scalped by opportunistic people who have a golden ticket to safety. I think it might be worthwhile taking a moment at least to see if we can see if this one can be made to owe us something.
Sounds like the group is fairly split there.
Okay.
Do we want to decide it via role playing, or we could kind of do a kind of opposed role between the two groups to see who is better at standing their ground?
I think that's actually persuaded, Ronan. I'm feeling a bit. Yeah, maybe you're right.
What hope do we have that this person's going to have any kind of favor to offer us, though?
Well, they're going to have more resources than we have right now. Let's face it, when it comes to disaster movies, we're the ones on the streets and in the cars that get killed off. Already
Matt,
died once this.
Sorry, I was going to say, Matt, is there anything about that? I mean, like, I don't. Apologies if I'm like missing a cue here, but like, is there anything about this that kind of reads that this is something that would have, like, Tariq's got his shop, and there's obviously like a bit of a, like an enterprise around that. Like, is there anything to kind of indicate that there is something here that is?
No, there's nothing that seems to be kind of like tacked on. Like, like there's elements of the, you can feel where the shroud is weaker and where, like, obviously, like Emily Perfect's Emporium had like a soul steel sign outside it, which Tariq's didn't, but like, you can feel like there is a certain weakness to the shroud here, but not like you're certainly not aware in any way, whether it be your awareness here or general knowledge, that there is like a powerful wraith who dwells here. You don't get that sense so much. That's not to use a reference, that's not a perfect sense, but like there is nothing to indicate that the old man here is certainly someone who could help. But either way, it's your choice what you as a group do with the encounter. So
I don't know any other route to the Citadel, so if you guys are staying, I've got to stay with you, but I don't know what we have to gain here.
Look, count me 5 minutes. Let's just see. Is there an entry to the I'm not familiar with these kind of townhouses. Is there an entry to the basement from street level?
No, there won't be. When you go inside, there'll be like, if it's like a general one of these apartment blocks, there'll be a set of stairs down that lead to like the basement. But to get inside, you're either going to have to wait for one of the quick to open the door, or you're going to have to like, become insubstantial and fade through the door and take some corpus damage.
You wait here. I'll go and see if I can find anything. Count me 5 minutes.
I'll come with you.
Okay, so Brian and Abby, you head inside. I take it you're just going to kind of phase through the door and take a bashing point of corpus damage.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
You find yourself on like the grimy interior of this apartment building in the kind of, for want of a word, the lobby area or the hall area. You can hear Alice's footsteps, kind of like a couple of sets of stairs up, kind of tramping upstairs. Near you, there is a set of old wooden stairs that lead down, presumably towards a basement area.
I think I'm going to start by standing at the top of the wooden...
Chris, were you saying something? Sorry.
Yeah, but I was going to go down the stairs, but if Abby has a plan at the top of the stairs, then go ahead.
I was going to stand at the top of the stairs and shout down.
Okay, what are you shouting?
Hello? Is anyone down there?
You hear... you can't see anything down there. The door to the basement seems to be like slightly ajar, and it is just darkness down there. Nothing really visible. There's the faint sound of like maybe like an electric, a very old and in disrepair electric system, kind of like faintly buzzing in the darkness. You hear a distinct sort of like shuffling sound of maybe someone moving around down there, but no reply.
I'll kind of head down the stairs. You said the door was ajar. Does it look like a single finger's worth of pressure would get it to move, or does it look like?
It does, but it's actually ajar enough that you could probably just about slip yourself through without needing to become insubstantial.
Yeah, so I might just squeeze my way through then, if possible.
Yeah, you can do so. You're kind of outlined in that doorway for only a few, kind of, not that you have heartbeats anymore, but a few heartbeats before you hear a voice from further within this dark basement, where all you can hear is this electrical buzz and the faint whir of maybe some kind of mechanical generator or something going. And you hear a tremulous voice go, "What do you want? I ain't done nothing to you."
There was trouble in the city. A maelstrom's coming. You have to get to safety.
I'll be safe enough down here.
I don't think you will.
Well, I'll find somewhere. Just leave me be.
This isn't like a hurricane warning.
I ain't coming with you. I don't know who you are.
If you can get the sanctuary, can you get the sanctuary? It's the only place to be safe.
People keep saying sanctuary. I'm not sure if we're aware this isn't a term. It's just the Citadel.
Citadel. Can you get to the Citadel? It's the only safe place.
There's none there who owe me. Well, I'll be fine. Thank you for the warning.
We won't be fine. Is there? Do you know of any other places we could shelter?
A figure kind of comes out of the darkness a little bit slowly and sort of shakingly. He's an old man who's kind of like has long, straggly grey hair on top, but mostly balding. He has a large, thick, sort of whitish grey beard. Is dressed in kind of desperate, filthy rags, and kind of looks out at you with sort of weepy, large, soulful eyes, and says, "Do you think I'd know anyone who knows the way in? Just leave me be. I can't do anything for you."
You look. Hang on.
Did I see the bedraggled man from Emily's memory?
Oh, you did, didn't you? Yeah, this is him.
Okay. I think I sort of give Brian a bit of a subtle nudge.
I will kind of have stopped myself mid-sentence and will be looking to you for kind of do we jump him? The best I can.
What's wrong? Old Jasper hasn't done anything.
Do you happen to have any friends outside of the Citadel, Jasper?
Oh, Jasper's got no friends. None who are still around. No how.
Got the feeling you might have taken on a bit of a big job recently. Now I see your eyes. It's the eyes that triggered this memory in me.
Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't see the. Sorry, I didn't actually see him. So this is
you didn't see it, no, but you
heard
heard the description from Emily, which is pretty spot on. Jasper kind of his eyes kind of flick between you for a couple of seconds, and he goes, "Piss," and kind of whirls round and dives towards a wall where a rent to the Tempest is unsealing itself rapidly. Are we going to try and catch him?
Yes.
In that case, can you roll dexterity plus Well, it's not just getting there, but it's also like getting a hold of. So it's dexterity plus brawl, I think, is what we need to roll to get that. And I'm going to roll for Jasper here. Brian, are you also giving this a go? I'm going to assume that.
I'm just trying to think of kind of slightly clever way.
Sure. Well, let's see what happens with Abby first.
Yeah. No, I'll do the same.
Okay. Dexterity plus brawl, standard difficulty.
Okay, I'm spending a willpower.
That's good, because I'm going to say Jasper's roll pretty damn well.
Oh no. Oh no. Just the willpower success.
Okay. How do you do, Brian?
No successes here, I'm afraid.
Yeah. So, just sorry, did you want to do something shadow-based there, Inga?
I don't know if I was too slow to start offering dice for that.
Yeah, if it's done, we'll.
Yeah, I was too absorbed in watching it.
That's okay. You can offer some recrimination instead, because Jasper, with a nimbleness you wouldn't have expected from the kind of the shaking, hunched old man, with a couple of paces, and he's gone, tumbling into the tempest, presumably with some use of Argos. The rent kind of sealing itself up behind him. As it does so, he wasn't like, he looked terrified as he kind of tumbled away, but the rent seals itself. He's off away in the tempest somehow, probably in more danger than you are here, honestly, given the currents of the tempest today. He's gone, unless you've got any kind of arcano that helps you track people through a tempest, which I think might be something Argos can do, but not at the level anyone in the circle has it.
Well, 10 out of 10 for coincidence and effort, 0 out of 10 for results.
All right.
Let's get back upstairs.
At least that was one thing Emily was telling the truth about.
Absolutely. Okay, then. Shall we... I take it you emerge out from the apartment block to rejoin the others?
You will never guess who we met in the basement.
Take another bashing corpus, by the way, unless you're waiting for someone who lives there.
Before we go out, can I actually do a quick investigation around to see whether he's left anything? Because I'm assuming he was paid a large amount of money.
Yeah, sure.
Investigation.
If you're doing it quickly, wits plus investigation.
Yeah.
I mean, also, maybe this actually is a hidey hole. Maybe he was
Difficulty
planning.
8 because it's sure is dark in here.
Damn it! That's taken that. Yeah, one success, but it took out my one, so no.
Got to wait for your shadow to give you devil deals.
No, I'm too late. Though it takes me a little. I get a little. It takes.
That's
I'm sorry.
What we should say, by the way, what we should have, rather than need that to come up first, do say shadow or something, and kind of indicate something, and we'll do that. One success, did you say?
No. Okay. I got a one that
yeah.
cancelled it.
You don't find anything at all.
All right.
On glancing around. Okay, so you emerge, take that bashing damage and emerge. And Chris, I believe you were kind of starting to say something to outside.
Of all the basements in all the cities, we walked into the one that contained that bright-eyed, scraggly gentleman who did the double deals with our friend Angela and this mysterious Lord Malachite.
Emily.
I take it that since he's not with you, he's gone?
Dove
Jump
into
for a hole.
Well, it would kill any of us again.
Was he dangerous? What happened?
No, he seemed perfectly affable were it not for our forewarning, I suppose. He said he'd no allies in the Citadel, though, so...
Well...
No shit,
anyway.
If he's involved with making this trouble happen. Fuck.
I don't know. It's all politics at the end of the day, isn't it? We should quicken our step.
I assume we're moving on.
Yeah, let's get to safety faster.
Okay.
Mm.
So you stride on forwards down the streets of Cincinnati, which are rapidly emptying of the quick as darkness comes on stronger and more powerful. And let's have another of our little things. We may run a little late today, folks, because there are some scenes I do want to make sure we get through, but that's all fine. It's all fine. Okay. You are kind of walking in a more sort of developed commercial area of the city centre. At the moment, you're walking down a long avenue of admittedly struggling shops and sort of some boarded up buildings. When I would like, please, a perception plus, I'm going to say alertness roll from all of you. Just indicate to me the number of successes. Actually, say, because I'm double checking something on the sheet. So,
is it difficulty 6?
Yes.
2 successes.
1 success here.
Okay. Well,
three successes.
Everyone who has successes, which I think is everyone, let's say it's Tammy who notices it first, but the others of you are only seconds behind. Much further down the street ahead of you, perching on top of a what looks like a boarded up store, like a obscene gargoyle, is an all too familiar figure. A huge humanoid skeleton with a distended, copiously bleeding dog skull perches on this building, completely still and motionless. You don't have to go down this avenue to get where you're going.
I think, yeah, Tammy will stop in her tracks as soon as she sees it. I think we need to... Is there another way, Ronan?
Ronan, do you want to roll a intelligence plus streetwise roll, please? Just normal difficulty, but you know your way around the city centre of Cincinnati, so...
Yeah, well, good thing I have no streetwise at all. I got a 10 and also a 1, so a 0 success.
You don't know for absolute certainty, but you're pretty sure you can get where you're going without, without going down this avenue, but you don't know an exact fast way to move around here. But the flip side of that is probably being near that spectre is going to be a very helpful move for your safety.
Yeah.
I knew the streets of Cincinnati quite well when I was alive. Could I potentially also?
I mean, you can do, yeah, if you want.
I mean, he was tracking Yellow Dog. He may have found him.
Who was?
No, this is the Spectre.
This is the Spectre from the library.
Oh, this is the Spectre. Oh, this is
yeah,
Prime.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Prime is a guy in like brutal sort of armor. He's not a humanoid skull with a copiously.
No, Pierre, this is entirely your fault and your fault alone.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, Pierre's fault, not Ronan's fault. Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh God.
Oh, I botched.
Well, okay, then you think the only way towards the Citadel is down this road. I would say before this leads us into a TPK, you're all like, other than Abby, perfectly aware you don't have to go down here to get this isn't the only road leading to the southwest.
Tammy's not heading down that way for sure. You know what? If you don't know exactly, we'll figure it out. But we've got to get off of this road. This is.
Yeah.
I said, let's get safety. That's not this way.
As Tammy says that, the Spectre, which is quite some ways from you, suddenly springs to life. Probably all of you, I'd imagine, involuntarily starting at the sudden motion. It leaps down and out of sight because it's quite a ways down this avenue, and it kind of leaps down a side area. You hear from that direction a distant, despairing cry of terror that's suddenly silenced.
While it's distracted, let's go. And I'll just pick a direction.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I follow Tammy.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that direction, lovely. I've been waiting for this one. Leads you down a side street and then back onto another main street. And again, you're in the kind of the commercial heart of Cincinnati. And now this is a more affluent and built-up area. There are a number of offices around you, successful businesses, buildings, shops and the like. You find yourself passing past a location. Probably a number of you, maybe even a number of you went here when you were alive. It's a diner. A diner called the Spindrift Diner, and you start to pass it without kind of a second thought. It's kind of like a 50s themed diner. Maybe you've been there before. Maybe you've just walked past it before. I kind of get the feeling maybe Ronan, certain people of your acquaintance might kind of like to hang out at a 50s diner, almost do a bit of kind of like self-conscious, like pseudo role playing there. You know what I mean? Regardless, you pass it as you have 1,000 times before until you notice that out in the car park, there is a youngish man with a unruly shock of blonde hair lying comfortably on the hood of a beat-up looking yellow car. He's humming an old rock and roll tune and reading by the light coming from a nearby street lamp a thoroughly battered copy of the Once and Future King, its spine cracked almost beyond repair. A few feet away from him writhes a restless, perhaps a drone, perhaps not, spitting vitriol and venom at him incessantly and swearing eternal vengeance. This wraith is not entirely visible, sort of flickering and frayed at the edges. It doesn't seem to have noticed you in any way. It's just quite odd and unusual.
Are these kinds of wraiths dangerous?
They can be. Drones often, if their very nature is negative and unpleasant, can often become specters. This one doesn't seem to be at the yet, although the fact that it's fraying at the edges and its shadow certainly has a great deal, perhaps, of control over it. You'd sense, but it's like I say, its vitriol and its anger seems entirely directed towards the young man. I don't know. Let's call him Marshall, who is lying on the hood of his car, peacefully and calmly reading "The Once and Future King" by T.H. White. Yes, T.H. White. Yes.
Yes.
Do specters have any immediate danger to people, like the quick
humans?
Yeah.
They can do. You have seen. You've certainly seen the effect. Yes, I would say very much yes, because literally the very first scene in the Cincinnati Chronicles shows what specters can do to living humans if given the chance. Yes, they can affect the Skinlands in either in influential or directly violent ways. But this one doesn't. It doesn't
Not
seem
quite so yet.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't seem to have the potency to do that. Being as you're pretty sure if it could, it would be doing, because it's completely off its mind and furious at this perfectly placid and innocent-looking young man. You can try and communicate with it. Drone, slightly shadow-lost spectre, like wraiths or drones, can often be communicated with to a certain basic degree. If you wanted, or you can move on. It's up to you.
I guess I'll sort of, as we're sort of walking along, I guess I'll say, "Hello, friend. What has this man done to you?"
The drone kind of like spins round in place, and you can see kind of like dim, glittering eyes staring at you from this odd, shimmering form, and it just says, "Help me! Destroy him, his family, his line. He must die. Pain."
Well, that sounds a bit extreme. Why must he die, friend?
What he did, I was so close, thwarted, Such plans, such grand plans.
That is terrible. Perhaps I can assist you with your plans. What were your plans, friend?
Too late. Too late. Help me. Kill. Bleed. Torment him.
And the man just continues reading.
Yeah, he's not perceiving this in any way, shape, or form.
What stops you dealing with him, if I may ask?
Help me. Torment. Bleed. Pain.
Okay.
He doesn't seem capable of anything much beyond this.
I'm getting that sense. I think I'll go up to the man and see if I can see anything. Like,
no, it just seems like a normal young dude. He's wearing like the uniform of the diner, and he has a name badge that says Marshall on it.
Marshall. I'll go and get help, I say to the creature, and
then just fuck off.
And then I'm walking off.
Yeah. The thing has already forgotten you're there and is focused on him again, kind of writhing in impotent torment. Are we moving on from here or doing anything?
Any of you know a Marshall?
Not one that we could bring in a safe manner at this time.
Well,
No.
you know of a Marshall, and that's Prime, but
Yeah.
not the Marshall
Well,
of Marshall.
hopefully, if we leave it, the problem might sort itself out.
That'll be fine.
Yeah, I think the time to pick up strays has passed. Let's move on.
Okay. Then you move on through the streets. You feel like you're making good progress. You're nowhere near being able to see the walls of the citadel yet, but you're definitely getting a lot closer. And as you're getting closer, you see more and more activity. You see a few restless kind of hurrying along the streets on other sides from you. If you attempt to kind of call out to them, they'll kind of look over their shoulder and sort of shrug or just move on as fast as they can, seemingly uninterested, but they're definitely moving in the same direction you're moving. You also, and because of the fact there are more kind of wraiths around, you are definitely forewarned by the sound of kind of the chatter of relic gunfire and shouts and cries ahead of you that there is a patrol kind of the seemingly lurking sort of just ahead of where you are. And can everyone give me some perception plus alertness rolls, please?
I botched.
Oh no.
Same.
Success
So
here.
do I.
One success and 2 ones.
Okay.
One success and 3 ones.
How did you
I
do that,
outbotched you.
Chris? Sorry, Chris, you might need to repeat that.
I got an actual normal human success.
Right. Well then, sort of the three of you who botched sort of stumble your way onto an open plaza with a fountain in the center of it. There are quite a few legionnaires around. They haven't noticed you yet, but they certainly are kind of occupied. That you can see that one of them has like another restless, like grabbed around the back of the neck and is like walking, kind of frog marching them purposely around to an area where you can see like another gathering of legionnaires with a sort of dark armored figure kind of like standing behind rows of individuals, an all too familiar figure standing there. Brian, you have managed to like round the corner and see this in time to kind of like lurk behind a sort of like an ornamental pillar at the edge of the plaza. But Abby, Ronan, and Tammy, you are very much going to have to make rolls to avoid the attention of the legionnaires who seem to be patrolling this area and rounding up restless on their way to the citadel. So
I'm going to try and find cover and dive for it.
Doing our standard running and hiding, is that the general plan?
Well, yeah, blending in last time did not go well for me. So
Sure. Absolutely. Well, anyone who's doing that, make your choice of either dexterity or wits plus stealth, please. Just at standard difficulty. They're distracted. They've got other prey, you know?
Are there any quick around? Can I try my old trick of trying to blend in with them? Or
Yeah, you can if you want. That will be... I can't remember what we rolled for that.
is it streetwise?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, just use streetwise instead of stealth.
Shadow offer of dice. Another two dice for you if you want it.
Yes.
Well, it's been terrible. I'm going to take them.
Yes. Yeah.
That will make it better.
Can't afford to screw this one up.
Is it bad that I just always want the shadows to win?
Yes. Yes, it is. Sounds like Chris has something to say as well.
Yeah, just Inga, if you're going to be making a roll, your shadow will be like, "Oh God, it's the fuzz, cheese it," and we'll offer 2 dice.
Fair enough. 2 shadows offering 2 dice.
Tammy won't take those. She's happy with her.
Oh my god. So many
everyone's-
shadows.
2 successes for Tammy.
Is Ronan Shadow similarly offering 2 dice?
No.
Are you-
No, I just thought I'd turn up.
Okay.
What are you doing here?
No, I don't want you to feel like you're underappreciated. I'll offer 2 dice.
I mean, I've already rolled.
He's
so
already rolled, I think.
Never
can't.
mind. Oh
Yeah.
no.
So Ronan's rolled successfully. Tammy rolled successfully. How has Abby done?
I rolled 4 successes.
And did anyone roll any 1s on their shadow dice?
No.
If they rolled them. No. There we go. Oh well. So everyone's rolled successfully. You know what? I'm going to say you all kind of like spin around and see Brian like lurking behind this pillar and all manage to kind of dive behind there as well. Are we taking any action to kind of sneak around? I mean, the Legionnaires, it is a patrol, but they seem to be kind of slowly moving around as they're like gathering some strays from nearby. Are we just kind of generally trying to wait them out? Or are we going to like try to
I think
No.
I'll.
sneak through? Or
Ronan, it's now or never. Did you know another route? Did you know someone who could help us?
Uh,
Yeah.
I think there should be something this way.
Okay, but I'm just saying we did not find your man on the way here to the Citadel. So, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, let's find another way in.
Yeah. Oh.
so is Ronan basically picking
I
a direction
appreciate you,
and
even
trying
though
to...
They do not.
Sorry, say that again, Chris.
Tammy, I appreciate you, even though they do not. You are wise and they are foolish.
Yeah, I think I'll just head like I have to trust my gut and see if I can
Trying to give the plaza a wide berth and like move around.
yeah.
As you do so, you kind of cross the road successfully, kind of like around to like skirt the very edges. And as you do so, you all find yourselves moving behind like a wooden fence over which you can hear the sound of 2 restless conversing with each other. By the sound of them, Legionnaires. One of them, who seems a bit more kind of like bold and cocky in voice than the other one, says, "Look, he's set on the task given to him, but we could be caught off guard by whatever comes out of that Nile in the next few hours. I say we abandon this patrol. We can say we were chasing after dissidents, after renegades, and then we get to safety behind the walls." The other one says, "Prime is half shadow spun already. Don't think he can't do worse to you than some Doomshade. I'm spinning the wheel, staying where I am, and you'd be smart to do the same. And don't involve me in this talk anymore." You hear the sound of that restless kind of like walking off quite abruptly, and the other one going, shit, and waiting a few moments before walking off again. Similarly.
I mean, maybe we can foment a mutiny in these guys' ranks. No. If one is not already fermenting.
So Matt, just quick terminology check as well. The things that they were saying about Prime, is that a surprise to us? Is that like obvious from what we've seen of him? Is it?
I mean, he seems pretty horrific, and the more horrific a wraith is, generally, the more control the shadow likely has over them. And yeah, shadow spun is kind of an old-fashioned term for, their shadow has control over them. Doomshade is just an old-fashioned word for a spectre. So basically, what he was saying is, there's entirely a possibility that what Prime can do to you is worse than what a spectre could do to you. So,
but it's not necessarily like a worry of a kind of, actually, is even the Citadel safe? Is the hierarchy being controlled by people?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
it's just like
cool.
Prime is real fucking dangerous and sadistic. So, maybe he's no better than the spectres. So don't walk out on him. Sort of thing was the idea. It was quite odd parlance, which could tally with the fact that the Legionnaire's accent was definitely kind of British. Maybe he's been here centuries. Chris,
can I, on a point of order, make a case for the fact that I have been fermenting discontent between Tammy and the others in terms of rivalry? Make an outrage roll against stop my rival from succeeding as my dark passion?
Yeah, I think so. That's fine. Yeah.
That's 3 dice. What difficulty do you want to set? Sounds like a 7.
It's a 7, yeah.
Oh, wow, 2 10s. Get angsty.
Angst. All the angst.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, sounds good.
Nice, thank you.
So I take it we're kind of just skirting around this plaza and trying to head onto the walls of the Citadel, which you can do successfully, having like lurked behind that pillar. The Legionnaires and Prime are occupied with like the restless they have managed to capture, and the patrol itself seems to be slowly kind of moving on as well. They basically seem to be like maybe circling quite a wide arc around the walls of the Citadel and kind of picking people up on the way, and presumably still carrying out some kind of search. You're getting definitely much closer to the walls of the Citadel now as you proceed onwards, and I would like all of you in this last scene. We are about to wrap up. I would like all of you to roll wits plus awareness, please. One success from Ronan.
One success.
One from Tammy.
I did a botch.
Oh, and one from Abby. So you are kind of proceeding down just an average sort of street, nothing remarkable about it. Like I say, shops around you, sort of various businesses. Ronan, Abby, and Tammy, you are suddenly overcome with a wave of, kind of like someone's walking over your grave, or just you kind of almost come to a halt with a sense of something's not quite right. Brian, you are blithely unaware of anything like this.
I think Tammy might stop in her tracks, and if assuming Brian is blissfully unaware and kind of carries on, might just gently grab him to sort of stop. And
you reach out to grab him, and that is the point at which the spectre descends from above like the fall of man. The giant humanoid skeleton slamming into the ground of the Shadowlands, literally just ahead of Brian, the prey it has been seeking since the library, reaching out towards him with grasping obsidian claws and roaring an unholy bellow at the top of its lungs with that dripping, distended dog head mounted on top of the bones. And I am aware that Pierre wants to do something as a shadow, but we will have to wait till next week, because that is our cliffhanger, facing this fearsome monster. So thank you very much, everyone. It's been a bit of a long session, but I just wanted to get through those last couple of scenes, which I'm sure you'll agree were worthwhile. If you've got any comments or questions, please sling them in the chat. In the meantime, quick promo. Check down below. There's links. YouTube, Twitch. You're watching on one. Check out the other. There's links to Discord and social media and Patreon. Have a look at them. Our weekly schedule is Mondays Warhammer, Wednesdays Into the Odd, and Thursdays Cincinnati Chronicles. We run monthly one-shots. The last one was this last weekend gone, which was Mork Borg. It's going on YouTube soon. And the next one will be on the Saturday, the 2nd of July, which Pierre is running a lovely indie RPG called Absurdia. It's weird and surreal and odd, and therefore a perfect fit for Pierre. So,
what are you saying?
What are you saying? John, comments, questions, incisive things?
We have a very good question from Nightbites that unfortunately hasn't come through to StreamYard, so I can't pop it up.
I did one. I saw people talking about it, but couldn't see the actual comments. So
yeah, it was really weird. Basically, I mentioned in chat that we usually do like a session 0 and like safety prep and boundary discussion, and how we especially did that for Wraith, and like made sure there were no, like, if anyone had any interpersonal boundaries they didn't want crossing, then talk about that. And Nightbite asked, I don't know if he meant for Wraith in particular or more as a general thing, to kind of know what our session 0 safety discussions are.
Yeah, ours haven't been that complex, but I always make it clear that my door is open for these things. Yeah, we have a kind of broad standing session 0 stuff on Telling Tales generally, where people can express that they don't want certain things to come up, or what so on and so forth. And in the prep for each of our individual series, we also make it clear, and people can use whatever system they want, but we use the lines and veils system frequently, where people can propose things they don't want include, either in the case of lines, things they don't want included or referenced at all, and in the case of veils, what people might not want on screen, as it were, but are happy being things that are referenced. So, for example, you might have a problem with, I'm trying to think of something disingenuous that's not going to upset, like violence to animals or something like that. People could say, I'm happy with it being referenced. Like, I'm happy, like you saying, oh, there's like maybe like a dead dog over there or something like that, but not happy having it happen on screen in the roleplay experience. So we use lines and veils for stuff like that. We use them for individual series, and we have some of them in Cincinnati Chronicles, and obviously we're not going anywhere near those things. But that kind of thing. I tend to find we have quite a lot of trust here in Telling Tales. I think I've run enough stuff for these guys that I think they know I'm not going to throw anything truly horrible at them unless it's if it's something that contravenes the kind of spirit of the games and our
and obviously we also have the private chat. So if there's like something that you didn't anticipate, that's where we bring that sort of stuff up.
People can always speak up in there.
Yeah, we've had some like after the fact as well. Like there was one on the Call of Cthulhu where it wasn't even like a particular topic. It was just without any like spoilers or anything. There was a point where my character was chatting to somebody who really shut her down because it's like, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to this other person. And like my character was very like affronted about this. And he was like, was that okay? Like, I hope you didn't think that I was like shutting you down. I was like, oh no, it was totally fine. It was a great character moment. My character was annoyed. I personally was like, annoyed on her behalf, but like it was a great character moment. So he made the time to like check in with me specifically, which was great.
Weirdly though, I think the setting in Wraith is really kind of ripe for this. But it's so mechanics heavy that we've just been too busy trying to work our way through the spider's web of all the different systems and terms that we haven't really strayed too far into sketchy territory.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, the shadow play comes across more as kind of slightly adversarial banter than like anything means
truly vicious. Yeah, I think it's partly the nature of the Cincinnati Chronicles, and that we're just dipping our toes into these and not having too much time for heavy character work. Where I think, like normally in the World of Darkness, if you're doing a protracted campaign of one of the different systems, you might get into more harrowing, to use the Wraith term, but it would apply to all of it, like more harrowing experiences on a character basis, particularly in like Vampire and Wraith. But we don't really have the chance to do that in this. I would say as well that partly I base system choice on telling tales on what people are comfortable with, and specifically in Cincinnati Chronicles, we had some choices made about which of the players would be in which of the series based on their personal comfort with the topics that the different systems might cover. So yeah.
Matt is usually pretty good at, in fact, all of us, like all of the GMs tend to be fairly, this is the setting. These are things that may turn up. Like people, when they're trying to, basically when GMs are recruiting for players in our backstage area, people tend to be very good at giving across the vibe. And it's like something like Morkborg, for example, like the descriptions of that, you know, there's going to be gore and horror.
There's going to be gross gore shit in there because that is what it is. Like,
yeah.
And I'm not trying to be gatekeepy, but there would be no point playing Morkborg if you didn't want those elements in it. And that's not to say like, oh, so we wouldn't do it with someone. It's like then we play something else because that's not for that. You know what I mean?
I think there's also that as a group, which we mostly have for like stream reasons, but also have offline, we kind of have like a standard, I guess, I don't know if it counts as lines and veils, but like an accepted level of
I have standard lines and veils that I don't have no interest in portraying within my stories, and I won't go into what they are. Maybe I would if we were having a dedicated discussion on it, and I could say to people I might mention some bad stuff here, but I have no interest in portraying some stuff that I just is a standard thing. That people don't need to give me those lines and veils because I'm not going to go anywhere near them. This is actually a really interesting topic of conversation. Yes. We could maybe do a roundtable entirely around this at some point, but for the moment we're already running late. Let's move on to the next comment. But thank you, Nightbites. Steve, the cat is radiating a strong mood. I don't even know where he is now.
This was from the beginning of the session.
When he was draped over the back. Yeah, he's sulking. Yeah. He was sulking.
And radiating that strong mood.
Yeah. He hadn't had enough petting tonight, so he was sulking. The shadow system does add a nice twist to things. It really does. It really is the whole underpinning of the Wraith system in a way. And also makes it hard to run in a number of ways. But I'm very proud of how the players are doing with it. I think it's extra challenging on stream, and I think they are admirably living up to it.
There was a point earlier tonight where Pierre was in trouble, and I was like, I know I should do something, but I don't know whether I should do something as a character or as the shadow.
Yeah, absolutely. Do I help or do I hinder?
There's a very loudly quiet shadow here who's like very loudly not offering dice or anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't kick food. Inga, absolutely brutal shadow. Yeah, I really like how Inga's been tormenting Abby.
It's great.
I said it is Abby. It is Abby's shadow, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I forget which of you are which one's shadow until you pop up and start talking. But absolutely. Next. Social blending is back with Valhalla, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Everything in the franchise is back in Valhalla. Fair enough. I haven't played any of the new ones. Bear in mind that what I call the new ones are probably the ones people are like, well, those have been around for 8. I haven't played anything, but I'm still playing Assassin's Creed 4.
If it helps, Matt, I'm still playing the first Assassin's Creed.
I'm
a very, very, very slow, patient gamer. So
you know what? I think it's aged mechanically now, but you know what? Those graphics still goddamn stand up. And they were let me tell you, they were mind blowing at the time. And again, aging me, but there we go. Next, 42, good to see you. Brian connection with the world is very, very tenuous. I first read that as brain connection with the world is very tenuous, and I was like, same.
Mood.
Yeah. Absolutely. Steve, am I too late to assist you? Asked the shadow. Oh dear. I tried, but you didn't let me help you. Yeah, I never want to play Wraith because I think I would be such a wretched, horrible shadow that no one would want to know me ever again.
Great, it'd be great. Matt, you can be my shadow, and I'll
cheers,
just
mate.
self-annihilate.
Absolutely. Well, there we go again. Apologies for the lateness, folks, but hopefully it was worth it. I think that's our best session of Wraith so far. I really enjoyed that. And hopefully everyone is geared up for our finale, which should be next week. I think we can all make next week. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you to my wonderful players for playing, and take care and stay safe. And we'll see you next week for more Wraith and Oblivion. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.